Data log 2026, May 9th, day 70. So today, Maggie went to Wahaha International School, which is a private school in Hangzhou. And one thing I have been thinking about is the current education paradigm. And this learning came from years ago watching the TED Talk, TED talk by Sir Ken Robinson. And it talks about the current education paradigm that is based on the industrial revolution model, where standardizing and producing standardized common denominator is a goal, right? Producing workers basically for the assembly line. Therefore, you standardize knowledge, you standardize subjects, you standardize time. So your standardized knowledge means that you have subjects like, department like English, Chinese, science, math. But in the real world, these subjects are mixed in problem solving. You don't use just one subject. Or in the real world, knowledge now with AI singularity, and knowledge is a commodity that you can have knowledge on demand. So standardizing knowledge or subjects, the industrialized model paradigm before means that, hey, let's learn a lot of knowledge. Let's learn these basic standards of knowledge, and just in case you may need it when you grow up. And it turns out, most of the knowledge we learn in schools, since primary school all the way up to college, most of the case we don't need most of the knowledge. But you standardize it. And it's also to practice memorization. It's also to practice following instructions, because that's what you need as a society for the majority of the labor force doing the industrialization, that you need people who can memorize special subjects, and then you need people who can follow instructions, and you need workers who can do that. And then, you just need a few of management, right? And standardizing time is also following the assembly line, where everything is timed even to the second and standardized to produce. And it's very anti-human behavior. But why, like everybody takes 1 year for first grade, second grade, where everybody takes 1 year, for one specific grade from K to 12. But what if I need a bit more time? I need 1.5 years for first grade, and maybe, a half year for second grade. So mastering the skills instead of standardizing the time, because everybody learns at different speed on different subjects. You could learn, plus and subtraction for 1 month, but then you learn division for 1 day. It depends on different people. But once you standardize it, some people are waiting because they are ahead. Some people are slower. But it's not to compare people to people. But what I mean is, some people may be faster on one particular knowledge point or one particular study of learning of skill, and slower on another skill. So it's not to say that slower people always slower. And then maybe the geniuses could be, and that's why it's, and standardizing time also means that it is kind of the, like on the assembly line, the date and the year of manufacture. So I graduated from University of Virginia, UV, at 2011. That's my manufacture date. That's my manufactured college student, University of Virginia, UVA student date. The class of 2011 that we were so proud of. is comparable to a manufacture date for a college student from UVA. And if you compare innovation and society changes that happened in the past decades, this is even another interesting fact, that if you bring someone from 100 years ago and then they come to the modern society, they were not able to recognize most of the things, all these companies, all these smartphones, all these computers, all these cars, but they will recognize school, because the school model of one to many stayed the same for over 100 years. And if, there's another thing, is that parents of college or even, high school, middle school, like parents would take children to the schools that they went to study, the classrooms, and they would say, oh, mom used to sit here, dad used to sit there. It's that by itself is weird. Like, why would you think that you have that kind of innovation in a place where the model fundamentally did not change? And by definition, schools are used to prepare little humans, future generation, future changes. And as changes are happening faster and the future is completely not able to predict, and how do we prepare our little humans for the future, given that our current education paradigm is stuck in the past? And the nostalgia effect of education is that everybody has been educated. So every parent or teacher or adult, big humans were, that's a paradox of education, right? Every big human, adults, will reference the past of their own educational experience for decisions in the present to prepare for unpredictable future. That's a current education paradigm. And even if you look at the current society, it's not a broken system, it's an outdated system, according to Sir Ken Robinson. And one funny thing is, if you look at the society, the only place that, back in industrial time, factories used to have bells. Now, in the modern society, schools are only place left that have bells. You have the class ends kind of thing. So the unfit of what you learn in school and what society needs, the gap between school education and society needs are widening every day, and schools are hard to keep up. Like, imagine in the internet tech world, to write a textbook on AI it's writing a history book all the time. So what do we do in that? But it's like everybody is in this mud pod, and people want something that fits what society needs. And the goal is clear. We need lifelong learners, because if you stop learning, then AIs will catch up. So you have to continue to be lifelong learning. And then the prerequisite for lifelong learning is self-directed learning. You cannot rely on institutional learning all the time. You cannot rely on always having a teacher or classroom. So you have to learn how to learn by yourself. And I think the prerequisite for self-directed learning is self-voluntary or directed reading habits. So that's why TechShare is focused on building self-motivated readers to help build self-directed learning skills, so that empower children to become lifelong learners. Now, all that in theories are great. However, what I realized is why, looking at Maggie going to the Wahaha school and thinking about, as a parent, knowing the education paradigm is needs to change, and everybody is in this mud pot and trying to get out. But then there's nowhere else to go. You don't have another better system existing yet. And educational results is not something 立竿见影. It's not something. What's 立竿见影? 立竿见影 English. 立竿见影 is a Chinese term.
英文 E get instant results.
Education, you cannot get instant results.
Produce immediate effects.
Right, you cannot.
Show immediate effect. 4 yield quick results. 简短口语 work right away.
So education changes and innovation cannot work right away. You cannot just make a change on a child and then immediately you see the results work right away. So it takes years to innovate, to prove the as results of educational innovation or learning innovation, in my opinion. I think also there's another thing is education is split between teaching and learning. And science of teaching has been the majority of the education paradigm. When we talk about education, people automatically equate that to teaching. However, there is no direct correlation between teaching well and learning well. No direct correlation. Of course, there are indirect correlations. Good teachers are hard to come by. And I think there are many resources, both government and commercial, have been focused on teachers training and great teachers. And teachers are essential and not possible to be replaced by AI. However, the model of one-to-many, one teacher that teaching, transferring knowledge to many, the role of a teacher being the knowledge barrier, the knowledge share, it's no longer, I think, comparable to AI. I think the new role of a teacher or adult for a child is a learning facilitator, 协同者, or learning peer in a way, facilitator, learning innovator in a way. And yes, that's one thing I realized is giving all that and you want something that fits better. The challenge is contents. There are no new, proven, validated, better system than the current. So as parents, as educators, we still have to follow the current system and try to make changes, kind of like a old, outdated, not broken, but outdated machine, and you're trying to change the gears on it and make it fit the new world. But the fact is, I think we have to rebuild the machine from ground up based on the new principles of AI. But that's very hard to do. What do you do with the kids are the little humans that are already growing? You still have to send them to school. Most parents working, even if parents want to spend time homeschooling or teaching their kids, there's no existing systems or content yet. Although I think content might be much easier now as AI can produce contents personalized for each person. And the way to do that, I think, is what I'm trying to do here is, my spill of my brain here, my little language model in my brain, and, just this stream of conscious thoughts or unconscious thoughts or whatever, just spilling them out. And that generates content for AI to learn about what's in my brain, like getting my brain content out. And then that AI to learn about the ideas I have and then combine with the human knowledge base, the internet, and then personalize it for each individual who wants to learn. So me contributing to the overall human AI computer knowledge base is the current plan that I'm doing. However, I think creating content is one. Having the realization of the paradigm is not working yet. Having the guts, the bravery to say, let's make a change. Like, you can only make changes on your own child, right? Now, the education paradigm on the knowledge and educational purpose result part is outdated. However, schools as a place for children from kindergarten to primary to middle school to high school to college, as a community of learners of different age groups, to learn socially, like to learn how to socially interact with each other. I think that's very important. Perhaps we can focus on that physical place, just like libraries used to be for storing expensive books. Now the library space is evolving into learning space. Perhaps schools as knowledge space can be turning into learning space plus a social space. So anyways, those are my thoughts for today. The education paradigm and looking at, this is a season for a lot of private kindergartens in Hangzhou. Our kids are being, going to these private schools for tryout and experiencing the private primary schools. So they call it 幼升小, like 幼 means 幼儿园, kindergarten, going to 小学, primary school. So the kindergarten to primary school transition is actually a subject, an event to be analyzed and practiced, and a ritual to be done. Because going from kindergarten is focused on 育儿, like caretaking, where it goes to primary school is now transitioning from caretaking to learning, to education for the teacher's role. And for the kids' roles, they no longer being caretaked off, like they are no longer having teachers as part-time nannies, but have teachers as actual teachers, instructors, and you have to follow instructions. Although I think following instructions is also anti-human in a way. Nobody is born to love to follow instructions. Only AIs and robots love to follow instructions. Right? So it's still there. I mean, my mom is a math teacher, primary school teacher when I was a kid. Maggie's mom is a art teacher. I'm surrounded by teachers. My passion, my goal, my life dream is to become a teacher. So I love teachers, and I know they are overburdened, underpaid over the world. And they are stuck in the system where the institution constraints, they have to being challenged by the fact that the kids now learn a lot more knowledge on AI. So that's a education paradigm challenge. What are your thoughts? Folks, I think the current education system and the exam and the knowledge score system, it's working for some people. I think my idea is we just need to have many options for personalized learning. Different people learn on different ways. We cannot just have one solution, one model that fits all. I don't think that will work. But the current model works for some people who love to take exams and learn from, I think. So there are three types of learning. It's going from the verbal learning, which is textbooks, and there are people who are good with that. The current exam systems are great with that. And then there are visual learning, people who love to watch videos or images and the way to learn. And then there are auditorial learning, like me listening to things and learn. Those, we just have to find and provide various models of learning, and then people just need to help find their own personalized ways to learn throughout time. And your personalized way to learn might change based on your experience and life stages. So anyways, education paradigm, ways to innovate learning, 3 methods of